I used to think that life was all about what money could buy: respect, comfort, attention. But now, at 70 years old, I can tell you, life is something else entirely. My name is Margaret. I live in a big city in America. I own several companies. I have drivers, employees, secretaries, everything you could imagine. But a few months ago, one day came along. That changed everything I thought I knew. I've seen a lot in my life. I got married young to a successful businessman. We started a small business together, and over time, it grew into something much bigger. Then we had 2 children, a son and a daughter. They're grown now, living their own lives, busy with their own things. My husband passed away 10 years ago, heart attack, sudden, no warning. That day, I realized that money, fame, success, none of it can stop death. After that, I handled everything alone: the company, the house, the kids. People would say, "Margaret is so strong." But inside, I was broken. I stayed busy, so I wouldn't feel the loneliness. My children live far away now. My son is in New York, caught up in his business. My daughter got married and moved to Canada. They visit once or twice a year. We talk on the phone, but that closeness, that connection we used to have, it's gone. I had everything: a big house, cars, millions in the bank, but something was missing, an emptiness that nothing could fill. Part 1. The day everything changed. It was June. The heat was brutal. I was heading out for a meeting that morning. My staff asked me, "Ma'am, why are you driving yourself?" "Let us send the driver," but I refused. I like driving myself. Maybe because when I'm behind the wheel, I feel like I still have control over my life. So much in my life has spun out of control, but this one small thing is mine. Around noon, I was on the highway when my car started making this strange noise. Then, as if the life just drained out of it, the car went completely dead. I tried several times, turned the key, pressed the accelerator. Nothing. The engine wouldn't respond. I looked around. For miles, there wasn't a soul in sight, just the blazing sun, an empty road, and me. I pulled out my phone, no signal, and the battery, almost dead. I thought, how strange. All this technology, all these resources, and right now, they're all useless. I waved at several passing cars. Some didn't even look. Others sped up. One driver glanced out his window, then kept going. I was drenched in sweat. My heart was pounding. I thought, despite all my money, today, I'm as helpless as anyone else. It was the first time I truly understood that wealth doesn't solve every problem. I got out of the car, opened the hood, looked inside. I had no idea what I was looking at. I'd always relied on others for this sort of thing. 40 minutes passed. I was exhausted. The sun was making me dizzy. I thought, maybe today is just my unlucky day. Part 2. The young man. Then suddenly, I heard a sound in the distance, a motorcycle. I shaded my eyes and looked. A young man was coming, dressed simply, with a smile on his face, like he could beat exhaustion, with just a laugh. He stopped beside me and said gently, "Ma'am, do you need help?" I smiled slightly and said, "My car seems to be angry with me." He laughed. "Well, let's see if we can't make peace with it." I watched him as he opened the hood and got to work. The heat was intense. Sweat was pouring down his face, but he was completely calm. No complaints, no rush. I looked at him carefully. He must have been around 30. His clothes were simple, but clean. There was sincerity in his face, the kind you don't see much anymore. I asked him, "What do you do for a living?" He smiled. I'm a mechanic at a workshop. Fixing cars is my job, but what I love most is helping people. I said, people like you are rare these days. He answered, everyone's busy, ma'am. But my father used to say, no matter how busy you are, you should always make time to help someone. His words touched something in me. 10 minutes later, he said, try starting it now, ma'am. I turned the key, and the car roared to life. Just like that, my eyes widened in surprise. How did you do that? He smiled. Sometimes luck is on your side. It wasn't a big problem, just a loose wire. I opened my purse, pulled out some bills, and held them toward him. Here, take this. You helped me. But he pulled his hand back and said so calmly, helping people is my profession. I stared at his face. Such simplicity, such depth, like his words were being carved into my heart. I wanted to say something, but he got on his bike, smiled, waved, and rode away. I sat in my car, but I didn't drive. I just kept thinking about that sentence. Part 3, one sentence that changed everything. Helping people is my profession. Such a simple sentence, but it held so much humanity. I drove home. The meeting was canceled, but I didn't care. My mind was stuck on that young man. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Different parts of my life started coming back to me. How many people had seen me in trouble and just ignored me? How many times had I ignored someone in need? I remembered once I was driving to a mall on the roadside. There was an old man sitting, holding a small piece of cardboard that said, "Need help." I saw him and I drove past. I thought, these people are just putting on a show. They don't really need anything. But today, I realized maybe he really did need help. Maybe I had no right to judge. For the first time, I felt that maybe I was empty too. Empty in my heart, empty in my soul. I had money, but where was my humanity? I made a decision. I would change my life. I would do something for someone, and I wouldn't ask for anything in return. Part 4, a new journey. Over the next few days, I started changing my routine. Before, I only focused on my work, my meetings, my schedule. But now, I started paying attention to the world around me. I realized how many people in my own city were struggling. One day, I came out of a store. A woman was standing there with her child. The kid was asking for bread, but the mother had no money. I went over and bought them some food. The woman looked at me, tears in her eyes. "God bless you," I said. "Just pray for me." Another day, I saw an old man outside a hospital. He couldn't afford the taxi fare. I paid it for him. These were small things, but they gave me a peace I'd never felt before. I realized that giving brings a kind of calm to the heart that taking never can. Part 5. A few weeks later. A few weeks passed. I was coming back from my office. In a nice part of the city, there was this small hotel. I'd driven past it many times, but that day, I thought, let me stop, have some coffee, spend some time with myself. I went inside. The hotel was small, but clean. Old photos on the walls, a piano in the corner. The atmosphere was peaceful. At the counter, there was a young waitress, about 8 months pregnant, tired, but smiling. I said, "You need rest, dear. Why are you working like this?" She spoke softly. "Ma'am, our situation at home, it's difficult. The doctor says there might be complications with the delivery. Hospital expenses are high. My husband and I were working day and night, trying to save up. I looked into her eyes, that same sincerity, that same exhaustion, like the young man who had helped me. I talked with her a bit more. Her name was Emma. She'd been married for a year. Her husband was a mechanic at a workshop. My heart skipped. Could it be the same person? I asked. "What's your husband's name?" She smiled. "His name is Jack. He's such a good person, ma'am. He's always helping others, even when we don't have much ourselves." I went quiet. I paid my bill. And as I was leaving, I handed her an envelope. "Open this when you get home. And pray that everything works out." Emma looked surprised. "Ma'am, this is—" I held her hand. "Just pray, dear." And I walked out. Part 6, the envelope and that sentence. Inside that envelope, there were $1,000 and a small note with just one sentence written on it. "Helping people is my profession." The next day, when Emma's husband came home, he was exhausted. He'd worked all day. Emma placed the envelope in front of him. "Look at this. A lady came to the hotel today. She gave me this." Jack opened the envelope, counted the money, and when he read the note, his hands started trembling. He sat down in the chair. Emma asked, "What's wrong?" Jack was silent. Tears filled his eyes. Then he told Emma everything about how, weeks ago, he'd fixed an elderly woman's car and how he'd refused to take any money. Emma hugged him. "I knew you were good, and look, God repaid your kindness." Jack laughed. It was a happy cry. That same night, they deposited the money at the hospital. The following week, Emma had her delivery. A healthy baby was born. Part 7, a meeting 1 month later. A month later, I went back to that same hotel. Emma wasn't at the counter. I asked another waitress, "Where's Emma?" She smiled. "She's on leave now, ma'am." She had her baby. I was happy to hear that. Then suddenly, the door opened, and Jack walked in, holding a small envelope. He came toward me and said, "Ma'am, I know who you are. My wife told me. You saved our lives." I said, "I didn't do anything, son. It was just a return of your kindness." Jack held out the envelope. "These are your dollars, ma'am." "I'm returning them." I refused. "No, they're yours." Jack insisted. "Ma'am, I've made a rule in my life. Whatever I earn should come from my own hard work. You helped us, but we don't need this money anymore. God has given us everything." I looked at him. His eyes were so sincere. I took the envelope and said, "All right, I'll take it, but on one condition. This money will be used to help someone else in need." Jack smiled. "That was my wish too, ma'am." From that day on, we started a small project together. We called it Helping Hands. It was a small organization where we helped people in need, someone hungry, someone needing medical treatment, a child whose parents couldn't afford school fees. We were there. Part 8, a new purpose. Over the next few months, my life completely changed. Before, I'd wake up, go to work, come home in the evening, and spend the night alone. But now, I had a purpose. I started putting some of my company's profits into Helping Hands. We opened a small office where people could come with their problems. Jack and Emma joined in too. Jack would work at his workshop during the day and come to us in the evening. Emma handled phone calls from home. We started receiving hundreds of requests every day, some small, some big. One day, an elderly woman came. Her son had been injured in an accident, and she didn't have money for surgery. We helped her. Another day. A young man came. He'd gotten into university, but couldn't afford the fees. We paid for his education. A family had become homeless. We found them a place to stay. Seeing all of this, the peace it brought to my heart was beyond anything I'd ever felt. I realized I'd been living my whole life for the wrong things. Part 9. The circle completes. 1 year passed. Helping hands grew bigger. We had volunteers now. We had sponsors. People from all over the city started helping us. One day, I got a call. It was from my daughter. "Mom, I heard about what you're doing. I'm so proud of you." Tears came to my eyes. She hadn't said that in years. My son called too. "Mom, can I help? I want to be part of this." For the first time in 10 years, I felt like my family was coming back together. We started having dinners again. Not just holidays, but regular dinners, where we'd sit, talk, laugh. My daughter told me, "Mom, you seem different now, happier." I smiled. "I am, sweetheart. I finally found what I was looking for." Part 10. Today. Today, when I think back on all of this, I realize life's real joy isn't in some big achievement. It's in being useful to someone. I still say that sentence from the bottom of my heart. Helping people is my profession, because I've learned that the day you stop living just for yourself is the day you truly start living. Maybe that young man didn't just fix my car that day. He fixed my heart. And now I'm spending the rest of my life trying to fix other people's hearts too. Not with money, not with power, but with kindness, with compassion, with love, because in the end, that's all that really matters. That's all that ever mattered. The end. Pause and a gentle breath. Thank you for listening to my story. And remember, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, you have the power to change someone's life. Just like someone changed mine. Fade out with warmth and reflection.